Hi, I'm Barbara Kanegsberg, President of BFK Solutions Consultants. And today we're going to discuss how do I know I need a clean room? Certainly clean rooms are expensive real estates. So how do we know we need it? Is it something that's important for the product? Is it sort of a status midlife crisis thing? Greg, how would you like to discuss this?
I think that's a great question, and that can really be answered in one of two ways. If you're in the life science space, someone by the name of FDA is basically going to require that you have a clean room because you can't afford to have a low yield. 100% of all your products need to be compliant. So for many people in the life science space, it's going to be a requirement. All the other people, it really becomes a question of making cookies and how many successful cookies will you accept at the end of the batch, which is commonly referred to as yield. If you want to enhance your yield, you want to have more tight critical manufacturing controls. Typically, the most profitable companies in the semiconductor space have the highest yields. They have the highest yields because they have the tightest controls and they operate their clean rooms in the most efficient manner.
And Jeff, what have you seen in the industry?
I agree with Greg. It depends how clean or your process as the end product. If
Sure.
it doesn't matter what comes out as far as cleanliness or the coating or adhesion, and it doesn't necessarily make any difference of how strict that has to be when it comes out of the process, then maybe you don't need a clean room. But if what you're making goes into the human body either as a device or a drug or an injectable, or it needs to be perfect as a microchip and increase yields, then you need to be in a clean room manufacturing space. So the question is, it depends what you're making and how clean does it need to be when it's ready to go out the door and into somebody's store, body, computer, TV, etc.
Sure, and I think you're correct, both of you, that we really are seeing more requirements. Ed, let's try to think for a minute. With our clients, what kind of trends are we seeing, both in terms of what they're making? I know that there are some controlled environments that look more like a paint booth, but there is quite a bit of control.
Well, there's a lot of difference between, you can have a lot of different variations on what kind of clean room you have and how much control you need in that clean room. And again, as the others have mentioned, it depends on what is it you're building. How clean does it have to be? How does it need to be kept? And the main thing is, how much can you tolerate failure? Because that's where, in some cases, as like you mentioned, in medical, you can't afford to have even one failure, especially if it's not just satisfying the FDA. If that part goes into somebody's body, you don't want to have it recalled.
That's true. We don't want to deal with lawyers and things like that if we don't have to.
Look at the aerospace industry. If you're spending billions of dollars on a satellite and it
Sure.
can be damaged by a molecular-sized piece of dust,
Sure.
it doesn't. You don't have to even look at it as far as the health-wise, but a mission could fail because of improper manufacturing processes and not know it until it's halfway to Jupiter.
Barb, I think an interesting point is you mentioned that clean room real estate is expensive, but in the scheme of things, it's really a less expensive option because a clean room will enhance yield, will improve quality, whereas without a clean room, you wouldn't get the desired outcome.
Well, I think you're right, Greg.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies are discovering that the concept of the controlled environment can be almost a glove box, really, literally. It can be tiny. So it's important to get that control early on in the process as you're going from prototype to full-scale production.